Yeah, hi. Continuing with our Learn Python tutorial. In this tutorial, we are going to cover the data structure list. So list basically is a sequence of elements. So these elements can be heterogeneous, and the list is mutable. What it means that we can modify the elements of a list. So let's see how we create a list in Python. So what we have to do, we have to use square brackets, and within the square bracket we specify the elements, and these elements get stored in a list. Let's say we want to create a list called as hobbies, which is having three hobbies: cricket, painting, and music. Then these are the three elements which we are putting within the square brackets with comma separated. So this entire structure is actually gets stored in hobbies as a list. Now if you want to print a list, we just simply say print and the list name, so it will print all the elements of that particular list. So this is what we see in the output: list and list is, and all the elements of the hobbies, that is cricket, painting, and music, gets printed. To find out the data type, just to double check, we can use the type function, and we can see that it actually returns the class of list. So if you check here, it will say the type is the list. So it means yes, hobbies is actually a list. Now the elements which are stored within the list are actually indexed, and the indexing starts with number 0. So if you want to access the first element of a list, you can say list name. In this case, list name is hobbies, and we want to access the first element because the index start at 0. So we say list name and then the square bracket, and within the square bracket we have to specify the index, so 0, to access the first element. So in the output we will get cricket because this is the first element. So the first hobby in the list is cricket. Next is count the number of hobbies. So let's say we want to find out the count of the number of elements in the list. Then we can use the len function, len. This actually calculates the length of elements, or count the number of elements present in the list. So if we use len and len and specify the list name, it will tell the number of elements present in the list. So number of hobbies is 3. It means there are 3 hobbies present in the list. Now we can also use negative index to access the element from the end of a list. So if I say in the hobbies, which is my last hobby, which I have mentioned in my list, so we can directly say hobbies minus 1, so it will access the last element present in the list. So the last hobby mentioned in the list is music, so this is what we get in the output. If I check here, last hobby in the list is music. Let's say we create another list called as rainbow, which has the colors of the rainbow. Now we want to access the first 4 colors of this rainbow list. So what we can do is we can use the slicing method. In slicing method, what we have to do is we have to specify the list name, and within the square bracket we have to specify the starting index, colon, and the stopping index, so which is an exclusive. What it means that it will start accessing zero. So if I say rainbow 0 colon 4, what it means, it will start accessing elements of rainbow list from index 0, and it will go up to 3. So because 4 is exclusive, that is the stopping index is exclusive. So if I see the colors here, so this is at index 0, index 1, index 2, index 3. So these 4 colors will be returned if I say rainbow 0 colon 4. So this is what is written: 4 colors of rainbow: violet, indigo, blue, green. The first 4 colors are written that were specified in the list. Now we can access alternate elements of a list also. So by specifying the jump, so what we have to do is we have to specify the list name, and if I say colon colon 2, what it means is, if we are not specifying any number or any value next to the colon, it means uh, you either start from the beginning and go up to till end, that is try to access as many elements are present in the list. And so it will because the starting index is not specified, so it will start from 0, and ending index is also not specified, so it will go up to the end. But we want to access the alternate elements, so we have to specify the jump, that is an index of 2. So it will from the current index it will move to the second element. I mean, it will skip one element and it will, after skipping, it will go to the next element. So, and this way it will access colors like violet, then blue, then yellow, and then red. So if we see the output, it will, this is what output is. It is giving violet, blue, yellow, and red. That is, it is skipping one element and making a jump of two. Now, if you want to access elements of a list in the reverse order, since we know we can specify negative index for accessing elements from the backwards. So what we have to just simply say the list name. In this case, list name is rainbow. Now we want to access all the elements, but in the reverse order. So starting index and stopping index is we don't have to specify anything. That is why these are blank. So we are just saying colon colon, and we want to access element from the end of the list. So we have to say -1, which indicates that access the elements from the back side of the list and move onwards up to the front side. So in the output, so reverse colors of the rainbow are, that is, these are reversed. So if you see, violet initially was at the beginning, now it is coming at the end, and red was at the end, now it is coming at the beginning. Now we want to check some of the methods which are available for the lists. For example, we start with the append method. What it will do, it will append an element to a given list. That is, it will add an element at the last uh, in a given list. So let's say we have a list of two colors, red and green, which is in RGB. Now I want to append a color blue to this particular list. So I will say RGB dot append and the element that we want to append, for example, blue here. And if I print here, so it will say red, green, and blue will get appended. So in the output, I will get three colors: red, green, and blue. Yeah. So if we have to add an element at the end of a list, we just simply use append. So list name dot append and the element that we want to add. Now, if you want to add element at any specific index, that is, we don't want to add at the end. We just want, let's say, at any specific index, maybe at the start of a list or somewhere in the middle or at any given custom index. Then we have to use insert function or insert method of the list. So we say list name dot insert. We have to specify the index and the element or the value that we want to insert. So in this case, in the hobbies list, at the 0th index, it means at the very start, this hobby basketball will get inserted. Now after insert, if I print this hobbies list, it looks like this. So if you see at the very beginning, you will find the basketball coming because this is what we inserted at the 0th index. The next function is the extend function. Let's say we already have a list in which we want to extend by adding the elements of another list. So let's say we have a new list which is having some more hobbies. Two hobbies are there in it, reading and writing. Now I want to extend my original hobbies list. This is the original hobbies list. This I want to extend. So I will say hobbies.extend and within the bracket I will specify the new list. So the elements of this new list will get added at the end of this hobbies list. So in a way, this hobbies list gets extended by the elements of this new list that we are specifying here. So after extended, the hobbies list looks like this extended hobbies list. So up to music, it was the original list. Now these two elements are here because of the extend function because we extended the list by the another list. Okay, now to remove an element from the list, we can just simply say list dot remove, and the element that is present in the list that we specify, that element will get removed from the list. So I'm just removing reading. So after removing reading, the hobby list has other hobbies within the list except for reading, because this is what we have removed. Now, next method that is available to remove an element is pop. What pop does, it removes element from the last of the list, and at the same time it returns that element which we can assign to some other variable. So let's say if I say hobbies.pop, it will remove the last hobby from the pop from the hobbies list. So the last hobby is writing actually, so that will be popped out and it will get stored in last underscore hobby variable, and in the hobbies the last hobby will be removed. So after popping, if I just display the hobbies, it looks like this. So after pop, if you see, writing is not there in the list because that got popped out, and we captured that popped out hobby in this last hobby, and we are printing this last hobby here. So this is the popped hobby writing. So this is a very elegant way to not only remove the element from the list from the end, but also capture it in another variable and use it for our, I mean, whatever purpose. Another method to remove an item from the list is the delete method. So what we do is we say del and then the name of the list, and in the del method we have to specify the index. So let's say if you want to remove fifth element which is present at the fifth index or at the 0th index, then we say del and space, then the list of then the list name. Here hobbies is the list, and within the square bracket I specify the index. So in this case, the first element present in the list gets removed or gets deleted. So after delete, if you see, our list starts with the next element. Next is the rainbow dot reverse. So what it will do, it will reverse the element of the list. So let's say we have a list and we want to reverse its elements. That is, the last element should come first and first element should go last. Then we use the reverse method. And so reverse method, it will just reverse the elements of the list. Next is the sort method. In the sort method, we just simply sort the elements of a list. So it will by default sort the elements in the ascending order. Now, if you want to sort the list elements in the descending order, then we have to specify one parameter to the function, which is reverse equals to true. So what it will do, it will do the descending sort. So it will say rainbow dot sort, and within bracket we specify reverse equals to true, so it will sort the elements of the list in the reverse order or the descending order. There is another function called as sorted function. So what it does, it actually uh, sorts the elements of the list and then it returns the list. So if you notice, the difference between sort and the sorted method is in the sort method, it actually was making changes within the original list. But whereas if we, let's say if our requirement is that we do not want to change the order of elements within the original list, but we want to still sort it and return the result as a new list, then we have to use the sorted function. So we have nums in which we are storing numbers and we want to sort the numbers and return into a new list. Then we say sorted and pass the list to it. It will sort the elements of it and return into a new list which is sorted numbers. And then we are printing the sorted numbers. So if I see, the sorted numbers will be printed here. Yeah. Next is, there are some very commonly used functions like min, max, and sum. So which is basically to find out the minimum, maximum, and the summation of all the elements of the list. So it's very straightforward. We just say min, and within bracket we specify the list name. Similarly for max, we give the list name, and for sum, we just give the list name. So it will find out the minimum, maximum, and sum of the list, and it will display it. Next is to find the index of an element. Let's say if we want to find out at which particular index within a list a given element is present. So if I say list dot index and the element that we want to find out. So let's say we want to find out the position of 20 within this nums list. Since 20 is present at 0, 1, 2, 2 index, so the output will be 2 here. So 20 number is at index 2. Now to check for the presence of element in a string, there is one straight away method we can use is using the in operator. So what we simply say, let's say if you want to find out whether orange color is present in the rainbow list or not, so we simply say orange in rainbow. So it checks if orange is present in rainbow list, it will return true, otherwise it will return false. And then we can capture the result in another variable, or we can directly use in some logical condition. Now, next is to loop through the elements of a list. Now, since list is actually a collection of elements, so if we want to loop through each element of the list, then we can use a looping mechanism called as for loop. So how it works in Python is we specify for and then some variable. It could be any variable x, y, z. In this case, I'm using color, and the next is in and the name of the list. So it means for each element in the list. So for in our specific case, it's a rainbow. So I'm using this variable as color. So for color in for each color in rainbow, and it will and print the color, so it will print the rainbow color. So that is, it will loop through each color of the rainbow and it will print it. So it will go like this: rainbow color, yellow, violet, red, orange, and so on. Now there is another function that is called as enumerate. If the requirement is to not only access the element of a list but also return the index also, then we can use enumerate. So we have, because it returns two values, one is the index and other is the actual value of the list or actual value of the element in the list. So we have to specify two variables to capture the two values. So we say for I, which will represent the index, and color, which will represent the actual color of the rainbow in, and then we say enumerate and the name of the list. So it will return two things: enumerate, one is the index which we are capturing in I, and other is the color within the rainbow, that is each color, so which we are storing it in color variable, and then we are simply printing it. So it will be like this: index 0 color is yellow, index 1 color is violet, and so on. It will loop through each element and it will print the index, because there are 7 colors and we are starting index from 0. So the last index is 6 and the color is blue. Now, let's say if we have a list and we want to convert the list into a string, that is, we want to join all the elements of a list by some separator, let's say comma, and store it in a string, then we can use the join function. So how it works is we have we within single quote we specify the character that should act as a separator between the individual elements. So within quotes I say comma, so this comma will be used to separate two elements of a list, and then I say dot, and then the name of the function join, and within the function we am passing the list name. So what it means, join the elements of list rainbow and separate those elements by comma. And then if I print this, and then the result I'm storing in a variable colors underscore string, and if I just simply print this color underscore string, it will give like this, that is it will give all the colors which are separate, and these colors are separated by comma because we have specified separator as comma. Next is to convert string into list. Let's say if our input is some sort of a string which is separated by some character. Now we want to split based on that separator, and want to create a list of the elements, that we can use a split function. So color, for example, just to reverse this function, now we have colors underscore string, which is actually a string in which the colors are specified by by comma separated. So what we have to do, we have to split this string. So I'm just saying colors underscore string should be split. So dot split, and which character to be used for the split is the comma. So it will split the string by using comma, and whatever the output will get will be stored as a list in new colors. And if I print the new colors, it will actually give me back those original colors in the form of a list. So in this way we can convert a string to list and lists to string, vice versa, using join and split functions. Now, since we say a list is mutable, what it means, the elements of the list can be modified. Let's say I have a list A which has three elements. Now I'm saying B equals to A, so it means B is also a list now. And if I change the element at index 0 of B list, let's say I say B0 equals to 22, it means element present at the 0th index in list B now should become 22. And if I print A and B, uh, I'll see that B got modified, which is okay because we are modifying B here, but at the same time A also got modified. So what actually happens in the Python, whenever we are for this mutable objects, we are assigning one object to another, it actually creates a shallow copy. What it means, it means both objects actually point to the same memory location. So any changes made to any variable will be reflected in the other variable. So if we do not want this kind of behavior, if we want these two lists to have the same elements but should be treated separately, that is the memory location should not be same, then we have to create the deep copy. One way is to create the deep copy is by using this slicing method. I just simply say C equals to A, and within a square bracket I say colon, so it will create a deep copy of C. Now if I modify C, it will only modify the list C, but it will not modify list A or list B. It means C is treated separately from the list A and B. So that is the difference between the shallow copy and the deep copy. In shallow copy, if you modify one object, then the other object which is pointing at the same memory location will also get modified. Whereas in the deep copy, we actually create two distinct objects, even though their data will be same, but the memory location will be different. It's actually a totally separate copy, and any modification made to one object will not make any changes to the other object. Next method is the list comprehension method. And list comprehension method, it's a very clean way to create a list. Let's say I have a list of numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I want to create another list which is basically the square of these numbers. So the way to specify list comprehension is we have to loop through the elements of numbers. So we say for x in numbers. Now it will access each element present in this numbers list. Now we want to perform the operation of square. So we say x double asterisk 2, it means calculate the square of x. And we enclose this entire thing in the square bracket. That is, we want the output in the form of a list. So this is called as the list comprehension method, in which we create one list from another list or from some another logic by looping through the elements within the square bracket we have specified. So that's it for now. In the next tutorial, we'll try to cover other data structures of the Python. Thank you.